Bitcoin, crypto, bubbles, passive indexation. There's a lot of financial jargon out there. Old Mutual can help you make sense of it all and give you great advice to make the right decisions. If you've got a question or want to know how to get the most out of your money, call them on 0860 60 60 60 or speak to an Old Mutual financial advisor or your broker. Today's the day. Get great financial advice so you can do great things. Old Mutual is a licensed financial services provider. If you've ever been to Darling outside Cape Town, if you've never been to Darling, you've certainly missed out. But if you've ever been to Darling, you would have gone to the Nauseum, which is Pieter-Dirk Uys's, I'm going to say tribute to apartheid, but it is a tribute to the I don't know, what is it? To the dark days of apartheid.
The graffiti of apartheid, the absurdity of the obscenity.
I mean, you've got jelly molds in the shape of the Voortrekker monument.
And candles. You can actually burn the monument. You can light the candle and it melts away.
Oh, did you go to hell for that?
No, they sold it at the Voortrekker monument. yes. No, it's extraordinary. I started collecting these things in the 70s purely because of the frames. You know, these big frames. I used to get these things, so cheap, in the late 70s. I was at the Market Theatre. And I said, so Bloedrivier and Voortrekker Monument, all those horrible spooks from my childhood. And I just, a little part of me thought, don't throw them, mate, just keep them. And suddenly when I had the Evita Perron, I had 3 walls to cover with something. And I suddenly thought, I've got this whole garage full of these pictures. And I suddenly put them up. And then I found pictures of Verwoerd and pictures of Foster and my letters that I used to get from the Verwoerd family when I was a little boy.
I saw you writing. You used to write to C.R. Swart, who was a president of South Africa, and you wrote to Mrs. Swart.
Yeah.
And they used to write back.
I wrote a fan letter to C.R. Swart when he became the first state president, and he sent me a copy of everything he signed. Soos my geteken op die 31ste Mei 1961. I even was on the white train after one parliament opening. Dr. Verwoerd and President Swart waited for me at Cape Town Station. My father dropped me there, me in my pucky suit with my tie, and they took me on the white train and dropped me at Belleville. And so my partner fetched me at Belleville and take me home. Hey, so what went wrong?
No, what, I mean, part of me wishes that you were just being subversive, but you were just.
How should I know that they were the enemy? I mean, we were just brought up to believe Sophia Loren saved my life because her legs were better than Verwoerd's legs.
The white train. What is the white train? That's the train that was used by the royal family.
It used to be the royal family,
and it's in Oudtshoorn, in the museum in Oudtshoorn.
Well, it's dotted all over the place. There was a museum in George. It's not there anymore.
George, I beg your pardon. Yes.
No, that somebody took the millions and went somewhere else, one of these great politicians, and that museum doesn't exist anymore. It's very sad. And they've got 2 white coaches there.
Yes.
So it's all over the place. And that's why I love my little railway station in Darling. Because I went to the George Museum and they gave me a few things to stick up on the wall. It's probably the only thing that exists now from all that museum stuff. But yeah, Darling, I mean, first of all, Darling is English for Scotty. And it's all right that Evita sort of has her, and the longest street in Darling is called Evita Besaidnet Boulevard.
Did you get permission? Because are you the de facto mayor of Darling?
No, I'm white. No, I don't want to be the mayor, and she doesn't want to be the mayoress. No, there are some very, very good people. The community is extremely aware of the need to try and make community work. This is my dream for the future of our country. I want to put community as the jewel in the crown of democracy, not political parties.
Oh, yeah, please.
You know what I mean?
John Fliss, you know John.
Yes, I do indeed.
And he was one of our solutionist thinkers on our solutionist thinking podcast, which you should listen to if you have a moment.
Yes.
And John Fliss mentioned you more than he mentioned himself, even though he was the subject of the podcast. And he paid huge tribute to you and the coaching that you've given him and the mentorship that you've offered him, and I said to him, how does he balance his obvious madness with the corporate work that he does and the good, clean stuff that he does? He said, Pieter-Dirk Uys told me you've got to go in and you've got to get the corporates to pay for the terrorism you then inflict on your audiences who pay money to come and watch you. And I mean, that's a big impact you have on generations of satirists and comedians who followed you.
It seems like that, and I'm terribly, terribly flattered to one extent and quite worried, because I don't want to leave footprints, and I make it very, very difficult for people to follow me. I want to make it difficult, not easy. Easy in my job is very dangerous. That's why at the moment I'm at a crossroads with the way I perform characters. I mean, I love doing Jacob Zuma because he was so easy to do and it was so important to do him.
Scare me. Stop it.
No, but listen, and 2 years ago I had some young students from Wits coming to me saying, you can't do Zuma. I said, do I do him that badly? They said, no, you're white. I said, hey? You can't do blacks. I said, I don't do blacks. I'm doing the president of South Africa who's dismantling our democracy. He needs to be done. No, it's racist. It's politically incorrect. You will get a hashtag, Ace must fall, which I screamed with laughter because, hey, the Buddha did this to me all those years ago. Pieter, you mag dit nie doen. So I wore a dress and they didn't know who to lock up. But it certainly means that I have to reinvent ways of doing sketches. So in my new show, which I'm doing at the moment, called When in Doubt Say Darling, I do P.W. Botha because it's like a must. And then I do P.W. Botha doing his impersonation of Jacob Zuma, which is much more interesting. Both presidents were forced to resign, both using basically the same language. And
both as toxic and as damaging as the other.
Absolutely, and still very relevant. And I do Piet Koornhof. Do you remember Piet Koornhof with the ears and the nose? He was a fan.
Other than Piet Botha, your biggest fan, or Evita's biggest fan?
Well, I mean, no, Piet is still in love with Evita, but I mean, Piet Koornhof. You see, Peter, you know, I was always the choice of two evils. He says, what a terrible thing for a cabinet minister to say. But I do Piet Koornhof because I do a sketch he did in 1985 about, we used to give black people free passes and bus tickets to go to the homeland for a nice holiday. And the next sketch is the same voice, the same accent. He looks the same without the ears, though, at British immigration, where he says, no, you can't get political asylum. This is Brexit. You can't. And where he actually says to the people around him, he said, you people are doing it wrong. Brexit, no, fine. But why don't you just Google all the apartheid laws, Population Registration Act, Immorality Act, Mixed Marriages Act, take out black and white and write in Muslim. My audience corpses on the spot. You can hear them go, So then I think I haven't lost my touch.
But that's your goal, isn't it?
I have to. Of course.
Your goal is to make people actually, when they leave the theatre, you don't want them skipping, singing songs as they walk down the street. They must be thinking.
Not skipping, singing songs, but also very happy to be here.
Yes.
In spite of the problems, democracy will always be a mess because everybody's fingerprints are on the silver chalice of freedom. So I'm an optimist. I expect the worst, hoping that the worst will never be as bad as I imagine.
You describe yourself as being unemployed since the mid-1970s.
Well, by then the apartheid government had said, "Jy mag nie," and they banned all my plays. So I couldn't get a job. And I got a job. My only job then was to do a little column in the Sunday Express once a week. And that's why I started sharpening my pencil on trying to put things into 100 words. So I've been unemployed, therefore self-employed, which is my greatest freedom because I'm totally in control of what I do. If I do nothing, nothing happens. If I do something, everything happens.
And just going through your CV, how prolific you have been, and by necessity having to be prolific in a society that changes as fast as South Africa does, yet stays the same.
Yes.
It's usually just times, dates and names that change, but the themes are almost universal over decades. You've got to be constantly reinventing what you are, who you are, and to your audience.
One step ahead, hopefully one step ahead every time, because you don't want your audience to be there before you are. And of course, I get very angry. I think most of my work is anchored in fury. I feel so helpless. I think, what can I do here? There's no alternative to humor. The other alternative is picking up a gun and going bang, bang. No, I won't go there. But humor can become a very, very pertinent weapon of mass distraction because people don't expect to remember what they laughed at. I don't think I'm funny at all. But I have to take the truth and make that truth so shocking that people say, you must be joking. That's where the joke is, when they say that.
Absolutely. Pieter-Dirk Uys is our Make Money Mondays guest this evening, the unemployed, self-employed satirist this evening on The Money Show. I'm looking forward to finding out about money. What happens when the government says you may not ply your trade? What happens? How do you survive? Yes, you write 100 words a week, but you can't live off that. And how does that impact your ability to retire one day? He turned 70 a couple of years ago. Maybe there's the answer. We'll talk to him about that in a moment. Pieter-Dirk Uys is our guest this evening. He's running a new show, but it's sold out, I think, at the Fugard Theatre in Cape Town in August. Your August run is sold out, so they're getting you back late November into December.
27th of November till the 15th of December, and people must book now, otherwise they won't get in.
Isn't that cool?
I'm very excited. Very nice.
But isn't that good that after
very good.
Several decades of plying your trade that there is still demand?
Yes, my goodness. Well, listen, if people don't turn up, I will stop doing that.
And that'll show them.
But that'll show. But there's something so extraordinary about live theatre, live communication. You know, they give me 60%, I give them 40. If I give them 60, we're 20 over. It's very financial. It's very much stock exchange stuff as well. You know, it's my investment. I mean, people always talk about investments and sort of. I invest in my audience by giving them something they don't expect, although I've only got about 4 recipes in my repertoire. But the food must always taste different. And maybe a little bit more spice, a little bit more chili.
Lots of people who've come onto this show are obsessed with money. Lots of people, and recently we've had people who genuinely don't give a damn about money. Imtiaz Suleiman understands its power, but for himself, he has no concern about money. Jonathan Jansen.
Yes.
He's got this really odd belief that everything will be fine, and he just carries on doing what he does. Max du Preez is still a communist and isn't allowed to go to America and is still working because he's still categorized as a terrorist by the National Party. He's a bit like you. And again, it doesn't seem to bother him that he doesn't have swathes of investments. Are you a disciplined financial person?
That's a fascinating question, because I can hear people in my mind say, no, he's not, he's terrible, he gives money away all the time. I never had money. I had a family that was not obsessed by money, but concerned, my father, about debts he had to pay back. Cousin who was a broederbonder who cheated him, and horrible. My mother, a refugee from Germany, incredibly generous, so I had generosity and sainigheid. The two there. But then again, when I started working in the theatre, 20 rand a week at the Space Theatre, you didn't have time to spend the money. And then when I did my first one-man show, suddenly overnight, I went from 20 rand a week income to 15,000 in 1981. I mean, that was unbelievable. My father phoned me, said, "Pity, come home." He'd thrown me out of home. And my joy was to support him for the rest of his life, to pay all his bills, to send him all over the world, look after my sister. You know, so it's a case of the money is when it's there and it's sort of quite heavy in the purse or in the handbag. You don't want to be too heavy because Evita gets sore shoulders when the money's still there.
She's over 80, isn't she? I mean, she's much older than you.
10 years older than me, which is great. But I've always had a high respect for money, knowing that it can actually make dreams come true. But I have a great friend, a wise woman, who said to me, and she had that age, she said, "Darling, you must always remember, toilet paper money is the toilet paper of life. If you have too much money, you spend your life on the toilet." And you know, it's true, the more money you have, the more you've got to concentrate on protecting it. So my craziness about spending is, first of all, going to Darling 23 years ago by taking a wrong turning. I was on my way to McGregor. And in that visit to Darling, I bought a house that was derelict with snakes under the floorboard. Crazy investment. I still live there. Then I took over the railway station and turned it into a theatre. Crazy. It still works. So, you know, mad is good. When people say, "Darling, you're mad," then I think I'm on the right track.
Yeah, so you've created a space for you to exist and to have the theatre, so that even when you're not doing the big stuff, you are performing at Evita.
It's my hothouse. It's where I can try new things all the time. I have shows. I do 90 shows a year at the Perron. And then I have to go out to earn my money, because what I earn at the Perron goes into the Perron to pay salaries. So that's fine. Which is great. You can't test things out on a commercial stage in the city. No. And so it really has been, and my involvement with the community is really, to me, the heartbeat of my life. The Darling Trust, the Voorkamer Festival, which is happening again in 2 weeks' time, where the whole community is involved, where one sees leadership happen in front of your eyes, with the Early Childhood Development Center, with 70 little chochas between the age of 3 and 5. And you can just see what a difference it makes.
You've given away a lot. I mean, you went on a massive roadshow, and I don't know if you still do it, but as an AIDS activist and an impassioned AIDS activist, speaking to 1.5, maybe 2 million people over many years, over 15, 16 years. I mean, 20 years.
Still do it.
And that is, for actors, people who sell their time, which is what you do, that is a big gift.
Well, the extraordinary thing is when it was 2002 and Thabo Mbeki was on his strange HIV doesn't lead to AIDS nonsense. And I was so frightened of it anyway because being gay, I thought, oh my God, I don't want to think about it because then I'll get it. I thought, oh, stop it. This is your second virus. Apartheid was your first virus. Now get out of there and do something. And I thought, let me go to the schools with an entertainment because, I thought the kids haven't had sex yet. Oh, excuse me. Hello. Wow. What an incredible eye-opener. And within the first 2-3 schools, they said to me, how much will it cost? And I thought, oh, I don't know. I said, nothing. It's free. The best thing I've ever done in my life because nobody could stop me. Government tried. We go to stop your sponsorship. I said, I don't have sponsorship. We go to stop we go to take away your salary. I said, listen, it's free. It's free. I do it still.
Stop you going to those areas. No, you can't do that anymore.
And I take my dress along with me and I wear it sometimes. It's been really amazing. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to school again. I do it wherever I can. I do more than just the HIV reality because that's still there. And unfortunately the kids know that they can just be careless because there are drugs to help them. And I just say, yes, but those drugs might become resistant, and then what do you do? So always know the rules of the road.
Do you have a pension?
Evita's my pension. No, I don't. I used to have a retirement annuity thing, which I cashed it, and then they left some in the bank, and I get that every month, and that sort of pays for the cat food. No, I work. I got to work for what I do, and as long as I'm healthy, touch wood. I do about 235 shows a year.
Wow.
You plan it. I plan everything. I mean, I'm into 2010 now, booking theatres for 2010. You have to.
2010, it was in the past.
I mean, 2020. Go see, there we are. 73, I'm going back already. So it's all about planning. It's about discipline. I say this to the young people everywhere. We say, oh gosh, this is exciting. I said, I have been in this business for 40 years. I'm not halfway there. One day, maybe I'll there 55%. I'll knock on heaven's door and say, can you fit me into your theatre? Or is Tutu there going to follow Mandela? Can I be a chorus boy? It's all about discipline. It's all about structure. And it's all about respect for the people that you entertain.
How will you look after yourself one day when you no longer do what you do now?
I hope I won't lose it. I mean, I hope I won't sort of be sitting there with water running out of my mouth. I don't really think about that now because, quite frankly, I've got a home. I live next to the old age home.
Helpful?
Is there help there? I've got already a door in the wall, which means they can just we can have a little train, the pills can come back and forth. I have a great respect for old people, and there are some old people who are younger than me who call me Boetie, and I call them Wamintani. Which is, I think, I've known so many people who were never old at all, and they were up 90 years old. Yeah. Nelson Mandela. I mean, so it's a case of just hang in there and stay young because your enthusiasm keeps you young.
Pieter-Dirk Uys.